Welcome friends. Today we are seeing a very basic topic of normal labor, and once we understand the major steps involved in normal labor, then it would be very easy for us to understand the malpresentations and malrotations in case we go for abnormal presentations. Normal labor is defined as, the other name of it is eutosia. It is defined as series of events taking place in the genital organs in an effort to expel the viable products of conception out of the womb through the vagina into the outer world. This is called as normal labor, or this is called as labor. To make it normal, we have certain criteria which we are going to see in next slide. Parturient is the patient who's in labor. Parturation is the process of labor, and delivery is the expulsion or extraction of the viable fetus outside the womb. What are the criteria to call that labor as a normal labor, or to say that it is eutosia? First thing, it should be at term. The onset of the labor should be spontaneous. It should be with vertex presentation, that is cephalic, without undue prolongation. The time schedule of the labor process should be in that average period. There should not be any prolongation. The termination should be natural, and it should not have any complications of both mother as well as baby. So at the end of the labor, they both should be fine. Then only we can call it as normal labor. What is abnormal labor? That is dystocia. So any variation from these criteria, that is called as abnormal labor. So if it doesn't start on its own, if it is either before the term or after the term, or it ends with cesarean section, or the baby and the mother has some complications later, then that labor is not called as normal labor. It would be considered as dystocia. Now, when the labor starts, we usually, when the patient gives this LMP, we calculate EDD by Niggles formula and tell the patient that this is the date on which you are likely to go in labor. But on an average, on EDD, only 4% of patients they deliver. 1 week on either side, almost 50%. EDD, 1 week either earlier or later, almost 50%. 2 weeks earlier and 1 week later, 10%. And 43 weeks completed and plus almost 4%. So actually, on expected date of delivery, only 4% of the patients they go in labor. Now, what are the causes of onset of labor? First thing, uterine distension. Uteroplacental contribution, the fetal hypothalamo-pituitary adrenal axis. It releases certain hormones which initiates the process. Estrogen has important role. It increases the release of oxytocin from maternal pituitary. It promotes synthesis of oxytocin receptors on endometrium and decidua. It stimulates the synthesis of myometrial contractile protein, increases excitability of myometrial cell membranes, and accelerates lysosomal disintegration. Progesterone, there is alteration in estrogen and progesterone ratio. Prostaglandins, they initiate and maintain labor. Production in amnion, chorion, myometrial decidual cell. These prostaglandins gets produced there. Oxytocin, it again causes uterine contraction. And neurological factors, labor gets initiated through nerve pathways. Now we have certain terminologies. We need to have differentiation whether the patient is in false labor or true labor. So let's understand what are these terms. False pain, that is also called as spurious labor. It's found more commonly in primigravidas. It appears prior to the onset of true labor pain. What are the features? The pain is dull in nature and confined to the lower abdomen. The pain can be continuous or maybe irregularly irregular. The pain is not associated with hardening of uterus. Please remember this point, because in true labor there has to be pain which is associated with hardening of the uterus. This pain, which is erratic, will not be associated with dilatation or effacement of the cervix. And in such cases where the patient is having this type of pain, what do? Usually, we either give enema to the patient or some sedatives or antispasmodics. After sedatives, she sleeps and she wakes up with either no pain or she lands up in true labor. So that's the differentiating point, that if the pain subsides by giving enema, sedatives and antispasmodic, then that pain is not true labor pain, but it is actually false labor pain. What are the true labor pains? The contractions would be painful. Gradually, to begin with, they are less frequent, less in intensity, the duration is also less, but gradually all three things would increase. The duration of one contraction will increase, the frequency would increase. In 10 minutes, from maybe one contraction to now it will go on increasing gradually to 2 to 3. At the end of the second stage, almost 4 contractions in 10 minutes. Intensity, frequency and duration of the contraction, they go on increasing. It is always associated with SHOW. SHOW, SHOW is cervical mucus, which is thick, but it contains some blood. That is because of disruption of the capillaries when the separation starts, when process of effacement and dilatation is taking place. Small amount of blood gets released into the cervical mucus plug, and this SHOW along with uterine contractions tells us that patient is likely to be in labor. Then as the contractions would be there would be progressive effacement as well as dilatation of the cervix. So it's again an important factor. Then these contractions, which are associated with hardening of uterus leading to progressive dilatation and effacement, is a classical sign that the patient is in true labor. Gradually there would be formation of bag of waters. It's a certain sign of onset of labor. So I have given you many clues. Again, an MCQ can be this way, that patient is in true labor by these signs, except. So you have to give weightage to contractions associated with hardening of the uterus, associated with cervical dilatation and effacement, formation of bag of membranes, and the frequency, duration and intensity going on increasing. Then to differentiate again the last point, that true labor pains will not get subsided whatever you do, whether you give her enema or you give her sedatives, she would have those contractions persistently. Now labor has something, the premonitory stage called as pre-labor. It may begin 2 to 3 weeks before the onset of true labor in primi and just few days before in multi. What happens in pre-labor? Some important things. First thing is called as a lightening. Lightening is when the presenting part sinks inside the true pelvis and the breast of the baby falls ahead. So if the uterine ovoid is still the xiphisternum or little lower than that, then when the presenting part enters true pelvic cavity and rest of the baby falls in front, there would be the uterine height would get reduced and patient suddenly feels a relief because this gravid uterus is compressing her respiratory system. There is this pressure. This pressure gets relieved. There would be relief from cardiorespiratory embarrassment. It signifies incorporation of lower uterine segment because now the baby is going down. There may be frequency of micturition or constipation because of mechanical pressure of this presenting part. The cervix become ripe, soft, less than 1.5 centimeter. Because of effacement, the length of the cervix starts decreasing and it admits maybe one finger. It becomes very soft, all set to dilate. There can be appearance of false pain, and this assessment of progress of labor is done by partograph. WHO has standard partograph, and that is to be plotted to detect obstructed labor or prolonged first or second stages. Now the labor has latent phase and active phase. Latent phase is again preparatory phase where the uterus and the cervix are preparing themselves. It starts with true labor pain till 3 centimeter cervical dilatation. So once the patient becomes 3 centimeter cervical dilatation, we call that she is in active phase. Till then we consider that she is in latent phase. This duration usually vary 6 to 8 hours in nulliparous patient and 4 to 6 hours in multipari, mainly concerned with cervical effacement. The main thing which is taking place in this latent phase is cervical effacement. Active phase, it begins from 3 centimeter dilatation onwards. From here, we expect that if the patient is nulliparous, then we expect her to dilate 1.2 centimeters per hour, and in multi 1.5 centimeter per hour. So once the contractions established properly, dilatation has started, it has reached to 3 centimeter, and now we can judge that maybe she'll take 7 hours, 8 hours in labor. This phase of active phase of labor is mostly concerned with cervical dilatation. I told you latent phase were concerned about effacement, and now this phase is concerned about cervical dilatation. The contractions would be regular in this phase and the rate frequency will increase. Now let's see what are the stages of labor. We all know there are 4 stages. First stage, it starts from onset of labor till complete cervical dilatation. Full cervical dilatation, it's a very simple question, but when I take exams, sometimes students do confuse. There can be MCQ again. What is full cervical dilatation? You all know baby's head is around 9.5 centimeter. So a head has to come through a cervix. So the dilatation has to be more than 9.5 centimeter. So the correct answer is 10 centimeter cervical dilatation is called as full cervical dilatation. Please don't have any random number as an answer. People say anything 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But please remember it's 10 centimeter, that is cervical, full cervical dilatation. This stage, the first stage, is also called as cervical stage. Usual average duration is 12 hours in primigravida and 6 hours in multi. Now second stage, this is a stage of descent because cervix is completely dilated. Second stage starts from full cervical dilatation till expulsion of the fetus. So this is second stage. It has 2 phases. One is propulsive phase and the other one is expulsive phase. Average duration again, in primigravida 2 hours and in multi 30 minutes. So this is a phase where descent would take place. So if patient is in second stage, we can wait for 2 hours if she is primigravida. She should be delivered in those hours, and in multi the phase is 30 minutes. Third stage of labor, from expulsion of the baby till the expulsion of afterbirth, that is the placenta and membranes. This is third stage. The duration is same in both primi and multi, and it's of 15 minutes duration. So once the baby is out, we have 15 minutes for the delivery of placenta and membranes. Those are also called as afterbirths. Fourth stage is a stage of observation in which we observe the patient for likely complications, because we all know that labor doesn't end once the baby is out. We have certain complications which can make the happy scenario, which can convert it into a very bad scene, or we know the reasons where if we relax, that patient is delivered, placenta is delivered, and we relax a bit, this whole scene can change. If the patient lands up in embolism, patient can die. If there is PPH, we have to be really on our toes, and that's why this fourth stage is very important, that we have to observe the lady who has delivered normally, but still we need to keep her in labor room and observe her for 1 hour and see for these likely complications like PPH, that is postpartum hemorrhage, any inversion or embolism or any hematoma formation. So all these things we should keep in mind and observe the patient. Now let's see these stages in detail. In first stage, the main events are dilatation and effacement of the cervix. What is effacement? To explain it to you, if the cervix is like this is the external os and this is the internal os and this is the cervix, then opening up of the internal os is effacement. So this cervix, which is tubular, which is elongated, is now opening up like this and becoming this way. Formation of lower segment, opening up, effacement has taken place, and then gradually dilatation starts and the cervix dilates like this and baby comes out. So this is taking up of cervix, called as effacement. There is full formation of lower uterine segment. The initiation, the formation starts much earlier, around 36-37 weeks, but the full formation completes in first stage. There can be physiological retraction ring. In second stage, the main events are descent and delivery of the fetus through birth canal. The downward thrust to the fetus is given by 2 things. One, uterine contraction. Every time uterus contracts, the upper segment retracts and tries to push the baby down. So that's the force which is pushing the baby down. and the added in second stage is maternal bearing down effect. Once she is fully dilated, we ask the mother to push the baby out, in which she takes a deep breath, she closes her epiglottis, and then she pushes the baby out. So these two downward thrusts help the baby to get delivered. Third stage events are there is separation and expulsion of placenta. You all know that uterus is distended till almost till xiphoesternum once the baby is inside. Placenta is attached as a disc, and now once the baby comes out, there is retraction. Sudden retraction of the big distended cavity because liquor is out, baby is out. Placenta is attached, and now this placenta, which is inelastic, because this cavity is contracting, this placenta gets separated. The separation takes place by two means. Either the separation can be central, center of the placenta gets separated first and then the periphery, or it can be marginal, that the separation starts at margin first and then rest of the placenta can get separated. Central, the method is called Schultz, remember as an MCQ, and marginal is Matthews-Duncan, MM. I give this a clue to remember that Matthews is marginal, MM, please remember this way. And again, this is the most common method of placental separation if the MCQ comes that way. Now, in which layer of decidua the separation occurs? This is again a likely question. So, placental separation plane runs through the spongy layer of decidua bassalis. Remember this. Again, on the same topic, there are questions in the form of what are the signs of placental separation? How will you come to know that the placenta has separated? Once the placenta starts separating, the vessel channels, they just open up and there is gush of blood. So baby is already out, you are waiting, you have 15 minutes for the placenta to come out. When you are waiting, you can see suddenly there is gush of blood because now the vascular channels are open because the placenta has started getting separated. So this is first sign. Second, there would be a suprapubic bulge. If the placenta is getting separated, uterus is retracting, this placenta will go and down and settle somewhere in the cervical region or vaginal region, and that will give rise to a suprapubic bulge. So second sign of placental separation is suprapubic bulge. Third important sign is apparent lengthening of the cord. Now what is this lengthening of the cord? Cord has particular length. It's not going to increase or decrease. So the word is apparent lengthening of the cord. Means what? When you are waiting for the placental separation and expulsion, what you can do is, with the ulnar border of your left hand, you can just push the uterus up. And the cord, which is having artery forceps attached to it after the baby has been delivered and the cord has been cut, you can see that when you are pushing the fundus of the uterus up, if the placenta is not separated, it gets pushed upwards. And thus, the cord which is coming out of vagina gets pulled upwards. But when the placenta is separated from the uterus, you do the same maneuver that you keep your hand, the ulnar border, just below the uterine fundus and try to push the uterus up. This cord will not get pushed up. That gives a feeling that probably the cord has become more long or lengthened. This is apparent lengthening. Actually, this is because of placental separation. So again, to repeat important points, the signs of placental separation are gush of blood, apparent lengthening of the cord and suprapubic bulge. Separation occurs by two methods. Central method is Schultz and marginal method is Matthews-Duncan. That's the most common method by which the placenta gets separated, and the plane of separation is in decidua bassalis. Now we will see mechanism of normal labor. Normal labor has a definition which we have seen. Mechanism of normal labor has a different definition, and it's a definition, so we are not supposed to change any words in this. It's a series of movements that occur on the head in the process of adaptation during its journey through the pelvis is called mechanism of labor. The word adaptation is very important in this definition because when the baby is trying to come out and get delivered, that time baby has to adapt a lot. Probably this is our most difficult journey when we are getting born. Everywhere we have to adapt. There is compression, there is rotation, we have that bony head is coming through a bony pelvis, and that's the way the adaptation takes place. So remember, it's series of movement that occur on the head in the process of adaptation during its journey through the pelvic cavity. It's called mechanism of labor. Engaging diameter is engaging anteroposterior. You all know pelvis has anteroposterior diameter and transverse diameter. So when engagement takes place, the anteroposterior diameter usually is suboccipitobregmatic. The fetal head anteroposterior diameter is suboccipitobregmatic, which is 9.5 centimeter. And engaging transverse diameter is biparietal diameter. When we talk about diameters, we have engaging diameters and we have diameter of engagement. When we say diameter of engagement, we are talking about pelvic diameters, either anteroposterior or transverse. And when we say engaging diameters, then we are talking about the diameters on the fetal skull. So on fetal skull, the anteroposterior diameter commonly getting engaged is suboccipitobregmatic, which is 9.5, and biparietal diameter is the most common transverse diameter, 9.5. So it forms a perfect ovoid. So we will just stop here, and then we come to know and we'll see in detail what are the important steps or events which take place during mechanism of normal labor. Thank you.